All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Sarah Miller. I'm the Vice President of Marketing and Strategic Communications with the Small Business Association of Michigan, and we appreciate you registering and tuning in today. I am pleased to welcome today's guest presenter, Brittany Parks. Brittany is the founder and principal consultant of Brittany Parks Process Consulting, and they specialize in process optimization and strategic management. I'm really looking forward to learning more about her methods for streamlining processes with an eye toward efficiency. A few housekeeping notes. This webinar is being recorded and will be made available to you later today along with the slide deck. The Q&A box is open, so feel free to ask questions throughout the presentation. Both Brittany and I will be monitoring for questions. So again, thank you for joining us. And with that, welcome, Brittany. I'll let you begin.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. Yeah, so as Sarah said, Brittany Parks, I'm the owner and principal consultant of Brittany Parks Process Consulting. We focus on organizational health through process improvement, safety, and human resource initiatives to overall improve upon products, services, company processes, and systems. And today, I put together a webinar on 10 steps to streamline your business and grow your bottom line. So let's dive in. So first of all, I would like to invite each of you just to take 30 seconds and reflect on a challenge within your business. So whether this is a challenge that you've communicated a vision, provided guidance on resolving to your team, or you're still just searching for that solution to this challenge. However, it's just not getting through and the challenge continues to arise and you're not getting the bottom line results you would like to see. So take 30 seconds and just vision that challenge. It could be related to high cost, compressed margins, poor quality, inconsistent performance, could be customer dissatisfaction, employee turnover, regulatory compliance issues, slow response times. As a small business owner, there could be several areas to think about. So keep this challenge in mind as we move through this webinar to apply the principles that I'll be going over today to your challenge. Also, throughout this webinar, I'm going to focus on an example. And one of the common challenges I see very often with people that are interested in my services or clients that I have worked with is employee onboarding. So I'll be using this example throughout the webinar. Also, I wanted to touch base that last week I was at a conference with Brian Calley, the president and CEO of the Small Business Association of Michigan, and he delivered a keynote speech that was so enlightening. He emphasized on the necessity for small businesses of all industries to adopt lean thinking amidst like the declining workforce, right? The workforce is aging, it's shrinking in number. And he underscored how lean principles can empower businesses across all industries to achieve more with fewer resources, emphasizing on efficiency, productivity, continuous improvement, all as essential drivers of success. So I just wanted to touch on that, and I really enjoyed his keynote speech. And so as small business owners, the principles that we learned today, absolutely you will be able to take with you and apply. So now let's move into the why behind streamlining your business processes. So our number one why is you can achieve clarity. So by outlining standard operating procedures, this will allow understanding and accountability from all. Standardized procedures will mitigate miscommunications. Number two would be collaboration. So by offering a framework to define and review your processes, allows you and your team members to easily collaborate to achieve harmonizing your processes, to enhance team communication, coordination, and ultimately commitment. And number three will be consistency. So by establishing a uniform set of guidelines that all team members will follow, will allow reduction in errors, variations in how tasks are executed, Ultimately, structured guidelines will optimize your workflow, minimize disruptions, and ensure efficient task execution every time. So streamlining your business processes will provide efficiency that's notable in your bottom line by gaining clarity in your operations, fostering collaboration among your team, and ensuring consistency in delivering results. So next, let's move in to the strategy to use to streamline your business processes. And the strategy that you will use is called Business Process Reengineering, or BPR. So what is required to streamline your business operations to gain all of that value behind the whys that we just spoke about? Well, business process reengineering. It's a simple, systematic approach to improving and redesigning your business processes for increased efficiency, effectiveness, and agility. So business process reengineering will allow you to enhance those workflows by reviewing existing processes. Reengineering your processes will help your business eliminate waste, increase your profits, and boost your overall efficiency. Understanding what it can look like to rethink and revamp your internal processes will take you on the path of achieving those impactful bottom line results. It starts with evolving with the way that you think, with a strategic approach to achieve those significant improvements in performance and outcomes with a focus on specific key goals. So now I'd like to dive into the actual actionable 10 key steps to implement business process reengineering to grow the bottom line. So step one, we want to identify our change, right? As the small business owner myself, and for you all on this webinar, there's several areas that we could begin, but we want to strategically identify that change. Ways that I do that is by using surveys and key stakeholder interviews to help identify the focus areas for change. I'm then able to then prioritize them into categories by identifying reoccurring feedback from a particular category that was harvested from surveys and key stakeholder interviews. From there, I would form a cross-functional team, including employees from other functions of the organization that may not be directly impacted by this process, but also include those process owners who are directly impacted in the process. So keep in mind that by receiving feedback from different perspectives, you can gain insights into your business's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, challenges from your team's perspective, the people who do the work. Back to that example that I spoke about. So an onboarding example would be, I would include human resources, finance, department members, IT, the hiring supervisor, and that's just a start. There may be other key stakeholders that I may involve in this cross-functional team. Next, I would suggest that we appoint a project leader to oversee your business process reengineering initiative. This leader will guide and motivate that team throughout the entire project, tracking progress of tasks, monitoring goals, and overall guide the group on overcoming obstacles. This could be you as the business owner, this could be a director or a manager, but we always want to have a project lead. Next, I would determine the scope of your business process reengineering. So including which processes will be engineered and to what extent. So an example would be for onboarding, will this re-engineered process start from recruiting all the way through hiring and onboarding? Or are we going to focus on starting with hiring through onboarding? So your project scope is a way to set your boundaries of your project and define exactly what deliverables you'll be working towards. It just overall ensures that your efforts are focused. And on to step two. So step two, I think this is a really fun step. I really enjoy this step. So you would want to perform a current state analysis of your process area of focus that you identified. And a tool that you would use is called workflow diagramming. So the components of a workflow diagram are the sequential steps that make up the greater process. Usually people use sticky notes or they use different symbols. So symbols could be used to represent each step or task. Rectangles are commonly used for tasks, while circles denote like the start and end, and diamonds denote decision points. This is you're building your visual tool to identify your current state of this process. A workflow diagram collects all of the relevant inputs, outputs, entering the process to understand the flow of information, materials, sequential steps, people who are involved. Once you have your workflow diagram completed, your current state is now defined. And now it will show areas within the process that could benefit from improvement. So take your workflow diagram and analyze the performance. Identify, are there bottlenecks? Are there constraints? Are there redundancy in steps? Are there areas where information or materials are obsolete that they need to be there to be able to perform the task? Look for areas of inefficiency to define your areas of improvement. You can look for places to make changes to improve on communication, productivity, collection of information and materials, areas to convert possibly to like an automation process with the use of a technology system or software, cost saving applications. Does your workflow diagram show causes of delays on deadlines? Are there steps that need to be eliminated? So really analyze your workflow diagram. Secondly, you could also, there may be industry best practices or benchmarks that you have set as a business owner to compare to. So here's our current state, and how are we comparing to industry best practices and benchmarks, and where are those gaps? So compare your current process to these benchmarks to identify those performance gaps. These could be internal or external benchmarks. And so now that we know where we are today and we kind of have an idea of where our gaps are and where we would like to head, let's move into step three. So let's reimagine that future state, right? So reimagine the process from ground up based on your analysis that you just did. Dial in on the areas of improvement and brainstorm how to improve, of course, with your cross-functional team. So an example would be, does your onboarding process need to include checklists for both human resources and the hiring supervisor to always ensure a thorough, efficient, consistent onboarding of a new employee? What about your interview guidelines by role for the position you're recruiting for? Are you asking the right questions to find the right candidate, to find the best fit for that position? And of course, always throughout this entire process, be including your key stakeholders in that redesign phase as well. During your reimagining of the future state, be sure to use creative thinking to envision an improved future state process. Challenge your existing assumptions and constraints. Don't just assume, well, this is how we've always done it, or we've done it like this in the past. The definition of insanity is often attributed to repeating the same actions while expecting different results. So engaging in repetitive behaviors without adaptation to change leads to identical outcomes. Reinforcing doing the same thing over and over is just again going to yield you the same results. So really be creative and think outside the box and challenge the norm for improvement. Tools used for redesigning and developing the future state is a future state workflow diagram. So the same current state workflow diagram that you did, you would do those same steps to create your future state workflow diagram. Really build it out to what it would look like, perfection. So take 30 seconds again, just to think about how you would reimagine your future state that applies to the challenge you identified. Really honing on creative thinking and vision for improved future state. What is the ideal future state? Okay. Next, we'll move into step 4. So redesign your future state. In redesigning of the future state, be sure you're really getting those details of defining roles, responsibilities of each personnel with desired lead times. How long should that step take? How long should it take for employee A to get employee B the information or materials that they need to be able to hand the baton off and do their step within the process? So an onboarding example would be who's initiating equipment and access for the new employee, and within what time frame is this necessary? What is the typical lead time to be able to obtain access and equipment, right? So we want to start that ahead of the, within ahead with enough time frame that equipment and access is available when this new employee starts, not 3 weeks within time of their start date. What information is needed and from whom to initiate this request? Is there a process to initiate this request to ensure that they're getting access and specific equipment for what their job entails? What does the new employee training look like, and what is the time frame of the new employee training? Are they going to be assigned a mentor? Who's their mentor, and what's the role of the mentor? So streamlining your onboarding process ensures that current and new employees will receive clear and consistent information in an organized and timely fashion, but also allows the new employee to understand their role, expectations, and are given the proper support to do their absolute best. And we'll move into step 5. Step 5. So with any initiatives that we do, we want to identify potential risks and obstacles in implementing these newly imaged processes, right? We really want to analyze barriers and at what status of a barrier it may be. So an onboarding risk could possibly be employee overwhelm, right? Ideally, we want our new employee to be up to speed and doing the most within the shortest amount of time. However, let's look at that through a lens of a new employee, right? If the onboarding process is too condensed, it could overwhelm the new hires with an excessive amount of information and tasks all at once. This can lead to new employee stress, reduced job satisfaction, early burnout, potentially increasing the risk of turnover, right? So when designing the onboarding process, be sure to think within the lens of the new employee. And with any other challenge or process improvement that you're looking at, you truly want to be able to look through the lens of the person or individuals who will be involved in that process. Then be sure to rank your risks from low to highest and prioritize allocation of resources. A tool that I use for a risk assessment is a risk matrix. And along with a risk assessment, you would always want to develop contingency plans to mitigate these risks before moving forward. So ensure to provide information and tasks to new employees, maybe in a 30, 60, 90-day onboarding plan, not within, their first 5 days. So when designing the onboarding process, be sure to think within the lens of the new employee and what you're asking that new employee to do. All right. Step 6, develop a redesign plan. So ensure that, when you are developing a redesign plan, that you are ensuring that compliance and even customer requirements are aligned with your new envisioned process. So create a detailed plan outlining the steps needed to implement your chosen redesign initiative. Specify tasks, responsibilities, timelines, resources required for each step. And with your cross-functional team, have a set consistent meeting date as well to, follow up on progression, challenges, barriers, all of that good stuff to make sure that everyone's moving forward as planned. Communicate that plan. Clearly communicate the redesign plan to all your stakeholders involved. Ensure everyone understands their roles and responsibilities within the implementing of the plan. So back to my example, performance management systems. So connect onboarding processes maybe with a performance management system to set clear goals, expectations, and milestones for new hires. This ensures alignment with organizational objectives. Be sure to create a detailed plan that outlines the steps to implement the new process that includes timelines as well. This ensures alignment with organizational objectives from start to finish. In the step, you are designing the blueprint of goals, objectives, and tasks for your team that needs to be accomplished to streamline those processes. And step 7, change management. Now that we've identified our focus area of change, we have our people involved, we've reimagined what the future state could be, we've done a risk assessment, and we have contingency plans in place to reduce barriers. Now we want to document what that new process will be. So document the new process with procedures and policies, guidelines. These are guidelines through standard operating procedures. Then you would then provide training and support to employees who will be impacted by the process changes. Also, I would encourage to provide creating change champions. So identify and empower change champions within your business. These individuals will act as advocates for change, offering support, guidance, and motivation to their peers through this change management process. So an example would be by documenting and training all key stakeholders on your onboarding process. It allows new hires to be hired quicker without missing crucial steps. Efficient onboarding processes also help new employees become productive more quickly. When employees can quickly contribute to their roles, they are likely to feel like a sense of accomplishment. They feel valued, that they were planned for, which contributes to their overall job satisfaction, which equals employee retention. All right, step 8, your rollout. So now that we have it documented, implement your redesign processes first on a smaller scale to test its effectiveness. So select a small pilot group to undergo your new processes. Consider choosing maybe individuals with onboarding who are starting around the same time, or those with diverse roles, to kind of test the process comprehensively. And when you pilot your redesign process, collect feedback and make adjustments as necessary. So on sticky notes or paper, we've done all of this planning, we've looked at risk assessments, all of that good stuff, but there's still going to be a few things that need to be tweaked, and that's okay because it's continuous improvement, and we will always be tweaking and making adjustments to improve the process. So once you've piloted you did your piloted test and you've made adjustments, and you feel like you've, as a team, have made those adjustments, communicated those adjustments, and everybody's on the same page, and you feel comfortable, go ahead and roll that process out for full implementation. Continue to monitor that process and address any issues that arise during that transition. And so it's very important that you take the small steps needed from pilot test to making adjustments. And you might go back and forth between pilot test and making adjustments a couple of times before you get to full scale implementation. And again, there may be some adjustments during the full scale implementation as well. And step number 9. So sustainment plan. So we've done all of this effort to collect everybody's feedback, categorize it, get their buy-in, do a risk assessment, document, train, implement on a small scale to then fully get to a full implementation. And we must think about a sustainment plan. So this image here of plants, it symbolizes the beginning of growth and progress. So just as a seed requires sunlight, water, nutrients to flourish, a well-crafted sustainment plan requires ongoing attention, support, and resources to nurture and maintain those improvements that we just gained. So continuously measure and evaluate the performance of new processes. A method that I suggest and I help small business owners with is establishing a policy procedure committee. So now that we have our processes documented, whether in a procedure or a policy, everybody's been trained to it, we must be looking at our processes at least, annually to 2 years, depending on the process. And this is a structured approach to getting that cross-functional team around the table again to take a look at, did things change? Did we bring in a new product? Do we have different roles? To keep our efforts sustained and to always be documenting around things that have changed within our organization to keep it up to date. And so examine the process where the work is being done for confirmation as well. That's another method for sustainment. Discuss how the process is going in our one-to-ones or our team meetings. You could also provide a post-implementation survey to all key stakeholders to see what their feedback is. Some people don't have the confidence or feel comfortable verbally expressing their feedback, but they may feel more comfortable using a survey. Also, are the changes included into our daily, weekly, monthly management to upkeep on the efforts that we just did? So ultimately, you want to sustain the gains, and there's several different methods or a combination of methods that you can do to sustain those gains. And step number 9 is we want to celebrate our success, right? So acknowledge and celebrate achievements and improvements resulting from your business process reengineering effort. Recognize, reward employees, make it a celebration. Share the outcomes and benefits of your business process reengineering initiative with stakeholders, customers, employees, clients. Maintain a commitment to continuous improvement and ensure that your organization does not revert to old inefficient practices. So it's very important to celebrate the team's success and that it's exciting and that this is just going to be a part of how we do business going forward. And you just continue to do these steps within the sequential order that we talked about today on each business process reengineering initiative that you and your team decide to do. And that is what I have for you today. So this is my website, my cell phone number, and my email. I'd like to offer a complimentary 1-hour discovery session at no charge if anybody would like to reach out to me by phone or email, just a conversation to discuss. And so that is 1 hour complimentary to each of you that are on this webinar today.
Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you.
That was really helpful. I didn't see any questions pop up throughout. I do want to say that if you do have a question, obviously Brittany has been very generous with her time, and you could contact her directly, or if you do have one that you want to pop in the Q&A, we can do that now. I think what I loved most about this is that I love that there's steps 1 through 10. It seems, they're bite-sized, they're approachable. I know that we have been working towards some process improvements at SBAM as well. And so this was really helpful for me to see and understand how you walk through it all, and maybe how I can incorporate these in some of the things I do. So Brittany, we appreciate your time and your talents and for being with us today. I will send out the webinar recording and the slides, as well as a link to an article that Brittany authored for Focus Magazine earlier this year. So thanks again, Brittany, for being here. And thank you to our attendees for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you, Sarah, and thank you to all that joined.
Bye-bye.
Bye.